We started out, golly, I don't know how many years ago. They came to the West Seattle Alumni Association came to us and said, we're having a reunion, all school reunion, and which is held on the first Friday in June every year, and they honor the 50th year graduating class, and we photographed the first 50-year graduating class in West Seattle High in that thing. There were 24 people in the class that were able to come to the class, and we photographed, and I don't know what year that was, but we have photographed them every year since on that. And we go to the school. We started out with 24, and then we got up to 40, and then we got up to 60, and we got up to 100 and 125. Now, with the reunion and all people that come back, they come from all over the world for that 50th reunion at West Seattle High School. And we photograph them, and we have to photograph them in two groups of 75 to 100 people at West Seattle High School on Friday. We go to their banquet that they have usually on the Saturday, the day after, and there'll be another 50 to 75 people that didn't show up on Friday, and we produce that for them, and it's really neat. And this last year, I was surprised the number of couples that came up and said, you photographed our wedding just after, 30 years ago or 40 years ago. You photographed, and I stopped counting after about 15. And there were so many people that remember us, and as I said earlier, if we did a bad job, they would have pounded me in the nose, but because of the love that we had for our customers, and the love that the businesses all have for their customers, the customers keep coming back. You see the same customers in the same restaurants anytime you go in, and the same any of the businesses in West Seattle. You go up and the same people are still there. They're not big box store shoppers, but they're happy with what they've got.
As you look back, would you have changed anything? Would you like to have done another different kind of business? Would you have liked to work elsewhere or live elsewhere? Would you have changed anything?
One thing I say is you can't should anything. I mean, it's impossible to go back. My father always told me, because he lived through the Depression, do not get into a luxury business because it's going to crash. Guess what? The photography business is a luxury business, and sure, we crashed. We were doing a whole lot of business when times were good, times got bad. Ours was a luxury, besides the fact that everybody has a portrait camera in their pocket called a cell phone or iPad or whatever. That itself kind of kicked the skids out from under our business, but we still get customers that come back, and not as many as we'd like. And I don't know what else I'd like to do. Like I said, I work for a lot of people in the Junction. I work for Husky's Delicatessen. I work for Blake Bakery, and I worked for the bowling alley. I didn't work for the bowling alley that much. I guess I didn't really work for it. I knew the owner of the bowling alley when they moved it from California Avenue. I don't know if you know that there was a bowling alley in West Seattle Junction. Mm-hmm. It's a six-lane, real six-lane alley. And but Bernie Sexton and her husband built the bowling alley where it is now. But I worked for a lot of Lattice Bakery. I worked for just a lot of businesses that don't exist anymore even, and I didn't find any of those that would. I should have stayed with Boeing, or I should have gone into work for somebody else that I didn't have to produce my income plus our employees. We employed, when we had the dress shop, we employed as many as 6 or 7 gals at a time, but we put about 8 young girls through college by working for us. We had an agreement if they needed to take time off for school. for studies or tests or exams, we would fill in for them. They could keep their job as long as they kept going to school. So we had a lot of our girls that graduated, and a lot of them become very successful in life, and we still keep in touch with a lot of those people. But I don't know that I don't know what opportunity I had that I passed up. Maybe I couldn't work for A&P because they aren't here anymore. I think they're still in business on the East Coast, but it was called the Atlantic Pacific Tea Company, but I don't know what they do on the Pacific. I saw somewhere in one of the stores that they still sell tea and coffee in one of the, I was surprised to see that, so I figure they were in that sort of business. No, but I don't know. I've never found anything that I should have gotten into.
Well, in a sense, you did work for everybody because everybody was your customer. I mean,
I guess.
That's another way of looking
Yeah.
at it too. You knew many of the giants in the West Seattle business community
Oh,
and,
yeah.
and civic community.
Yeah.
Can you describe some of them for me that come to mind? The ones that had the biggest impact in the business and civic community of West Seattle.
Well, my favorite thing to do is on Saturday is go to the Saturday matinee at the Granada Theater. I lived a block and a half away. And at that time, the Couches owned Portola, which became the Admiral Theater, and the Granada Theater. And I don't know what their relationship with one another was, but she lived in the apartment house at California and Dawson, and I don't know where he lived, but she ran the Granada Theater. Well, then she sold it to somebody, and I happened to know the people, and I hung around the Granada Theater, and then they sold it, and one of my grade school friends, Dad, bought it. And we'd go in and we would clean up, and we would hang out, and I'm a popcornaholic, so I'd sit there and eat popcorn. That's all he had to pay me was all the popcorn I wanted to eat. And the same thing when I went to work. I went to work for Huskies, and it was really interesting. They said you could have all the ice cream. When I started working for Huskies, I was not old enough to have a health permit, so I could only work when they were closed, and they were only closed on Mondays. I could work in the back room and clean up the ice cream stuff and everything. And when I saw how they made ice cream, I don't think I ever ate ice cream all the time I was in there, because at that time it was gross. And Herman, the owner, the original Husky, had a special way of making his chocolate marble ice cream, and I won't explain it because people would stop eating it there. But one time I threw the chocolate out, and he completely came unglued. He really got upset. But I worked for them for quite a while. I would work with John, ended up running the business, and their son Hugh was never got into the business. He was kind of the repair guy. And Bob was a young fellow, graduated in 1949 or 1950 from West